Okay, we're making this video for our investors, maybe new investors who are thinking about joining our journey of buying houses, renovating them, managing them here, all under one roof at turnkeyinvest.com, Foundation Property Management. And we're going to start by talking about 5 reasons real estate investors don't succeed. That's a horrible place to start, right? They don't succeed. But over and over, we've seen that people who don't succeed don't have a team. And what does that mean? So here at Foundation Property Management, we always say we have everything under one roof that an investor anywhere in the world needs to succeed owning properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Since most of our investors do live out of state, out of country, they need an acquisitions team, someone who's buying houses or pieces of land to build on for future rental properties, but not just the first one they run across, having a very defined buy box of the neighborhoods that work and buying properties there. What are neighborhoods that work? Lower crime, high desire by residents wanting to live there, and some of that can be affordability, but not going into areas that just don't work, and every city's got them. So over the years, we've tracked how long does it take to rent a property that's fully turnkey renovated in all of the different zip codes of Memphis. And I can tell you zip code by zip code, and within those zip codes, areas that take longer to rent. That's all you need to know. You don't have to worry about are rents going up, and how long does it take to rent a house that's fully turnkey renovated in each specific part of Memphis. So buying in the right neighborhood is where it all starts, and it can all go wrong there too. When I first got started in real estate, I would buy houses for $5,000. I would put a huge renovation. I would be out there with the crews doing the work, and then we would get a lovely single mom renting the house from us, and before long she'd leave because the neighborhood, she heard gunshots, didn't feel safe, a neighbor was harassing her. So what I learned from that is you can be the best at renovations and property management. Believe me, I would go over there on the drop of a dime to help her. If her toilet wasn't working, I was a good property manager, but it's a bad neighborhood. You can't make a house in a bad neighborhood a great home. You just can't do it. So acquisitions is the first part about that. Second part, renovation. So if you own properties in Memphis we do not manage, and you're facing a make-ready renovation and you want a second price, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help save you money, especially on big ticket items when it comes to roofs and sewer replacements. Recently had a house that had a major front yard was all dug up by a mini excavator. 3 men spent half of a day repairing a pipe. You know, the material was probably $100, but we got it done for $1,085 with a 5% markup. To get a plumbing company with a heavy piece of machinery and 3 men for a full day to work on a house for $1,000, it just doesn't happen. So having the ability to renovate any house, build a house, or make a repair like that, pass the savings along to our investors is what our team brings to the table as well. But, you know, we always leave out the ones that don't actually work here. We have the best closing attorney, termite inspector, home inspection team, multiple people in our Rolodex that are all loyal to our company because we treat them like part of the team and we pay them on time. It's really that simple. So out of the gate, number one reason real estate investors don't succeed, they don't have a team, or they've had to try to piecemeal one together. What do I mean by that? Maybe they buy a house on Zillow with a realtor, and then the realtor tells them about a renovation crew that they have no relation to. They get involved with the renovation crew who does a great job, and then they interview 3 property managers and pick the best one that they think is the best pick. Well, there's a lot of moving parts there, and there's a lot of potential when things go wrong to start pointing some fingers. Well, that realtor sold you the house in a wrong neighborhood. That renovation crew didn't do a great job on the renovation, and you're a bad property manager. With us, you get the whole package, and we're very much have equity stake in this property alongside you, and that's how we are aligned with the interests of our owners. So having a great team is key. Now, too often this talk comes up when somebody perhaps meets someone on Bigger Pockets, love Bigger Pockets, nothing wrong with that, or Zillow, and they bring the property to us, and they're looking for the team. So if you want to know more about how to get a hold of our team, go to turnkeyinvest.com, reach out to Bernice. She'd love to talk to you. Second one that comes up all the time, they don't believe real estate really works. What do I mean by this? They want to buy one $50,000 property and see how it goes, James. Well, that typically doesn't go so well. So you have to put aside any doubts you have and have a plan that you're going to stick to grow a portfolio of, my suggestion is 12 to 15 properties or more, or don't get started in the beginning. 1 or 2, 5 or 6 rental properties is nothing but a bad habit. And the reason is you're always going to have a problem property. Now, it might be that your problem property pays late. There's a reason people are renting. They didn't go buy a house. Now, some of our renters, of course, are executive level renters who are here on a 2-year contract with FedEx, but the majority of people that rent would like to be homeowners but haven't gotten themselves in a financial situation to do so. So a late payment here and there, if that's your biggest problem, kudos to you. But you might always have a person that's not taking care of the property the way they should, or smoking in the property, which is forbidden in our lease, in our agreement with them up front. They might have a dog that they're not supposed to have, or multiple dogs. All the things you can think of, all the way to an eviction where we are putting their belongings on the curb and kicking them out. But if you have 12 or 13 other properties that are paying their rent and taking care of the property, you can withstand those ups and downs of real estate. So I suggest coming in saying, I have a plan to have 12 or 15 or more properties. 12 to 15 is a good portfolio. And I know that's a bit of a range. So let me say this. There is a way to circumvent a lot of that headache that I just talked about, buying nicer properties. So 12 nice properties, meaning they're in safe neighborhoods, they've been fully renovated, they're bulletproof because they have new roof, HVAC, all those things. They smell nice, they look nice, they're not weird floor plans, but they cost more. And that's why most people don't buy the $200,000 rental and go with the $130,000 rental. They go, I can buy two $130,000 rentals as easy as I could buy one $200,000 home, James, because of down payment and all these things. I understand, and most people do. I did. I was buying the cheapest houses in the worst parts of town thinking I want hundreds of rental properties, but how about 12 to 15 good, solid properties in safe neighborhoods that attract the type of resident that will take care of your home? That's the way you can really get ahead of the curve. Buy nicer properties. If you buy 5 C-class, tough neighborhood properties, you're gonna have some slim months. All right, so they don't believe real estate really works, so they dip their toe in and see how it goes instead of building a portfolio. They don't have a game plan, so that's where it all begins. So anytime somebody asks me, James, what advice do you have for me as I'm getting ready to buy my first rental property? I was like, well, congratulations on that, but what is your plan after the first purchase, after the 5th purchase? What does your next 10 years look like investing in real estate? And some people have it really dialed in. But if you don't have a game plan to acquire X number of properties in X number of years and know exactly how you're going to get to each one, a lot of the investors I work with buy one property per year. That is a great plan, and the younger you are and you can get started doing that, the better. That means they're going to have to save up a down payment and closing cost of 25% down and about $6,500. So if their average purchase price, our average purchase price right now is about $185,000, and that's going up quickly. Times 0.25, you're going to need $46,250 down payment, plus about $6,500 in closing costs. You need $50,000 to buy every $185,000 house that you're looking to buy. So, are you able to do that annually? Maybe buy it every other year. So, it doesn't matter your number, it's just that you have a plan. And what are you giving up to be able to have that next down payment and closing costs? Maybe that big trip on your anniversary with your loved one, or taking the kids to Dollywood instead of Disneywood. I don't know, but something's got to give. Everybody watching this video knows that we got to stash that money away. We got to get rid of some liabilities and able to get these assets. But have your game plan. If you want to build a game plan, reach out to us at the team, turnkeyinvest.com. We'd love to get on a Zoom or Google Meets face-to-face video with you and form a plan to build a portfolio here in Memphis. All right, number 4, their spouse does not believe that real estate really works. Too often, I'll have a wife or husband in Memphis without their partner for life. And my first question is your spouse all in as well? Because it always seems that the pipes will freeze and you'll have an eviction December 15th. And that's a horrible time because we're all at home spending some Christmas time with our families, and now something's going wrong a couple of thousand miles away in Memphis where your rental properties are. So you better be in this journey together. If it's husband, wife, partners, saying we are both committed to our game plan and our team back in Memphis to growing this portfolio, knowing there's going to be ups and downs. Our job is to mitigate those risks, to manage those properties for you, and try to get ahead of those problems before they become big issues. So being in alignment with your partner, key number 4 to succeeding in real estate. Over and over again, I see real estate investors not succeed because they have vented to their partner about something going on in their portfolio who told them not to get in real estate in the first place. So if that's you, solve it before you talk to the team. And then lastly, the biggest one by far, they do not commit. They believe real estate really works. They have friends. Most of, if not all of our clients come from referrals. They've seen people with 2 decades of experience doing real estate succeed who are no smarter or have higher incomes than they have. They believe it works. They know it works. They find a great team in whatever city they're invested in. Here in Memphis with Turnkey Invest and Foundation Property Management. And they're ready to go. Their spouse is all in. They make their game plan, but life happens. In year 3, they don't buy a house. After buying a house year 1, year 2, but year 3 comes along and they get pregnant or divorced or lose a job or sidetracked. They get the shiny object syndrome and go a different direction, and all of a sudden they're investing in Bitcoin and commodities. Okay, great. That was not in the game plan. And I'm not saying that real estate should be your full investment, your full focus, but definitely a piece of any tangible generational wealth building portfolio. Real estate exists. So if you're not going to commit, don't even have the talk with the spouse. Don't even make the game plan. But if you build a plan, you commit to it over a 10-year period, working with a team like we've assembled and that work here, you're going to succeed. It's not going to be rainbows and unicorns the whole time, but our investors have a track record of proven success that we can share with you. So why invest in Memphis, Tennessee? Of all places, I ask a lot of people, I say, tell me what you know about Memphis. And typically they'll say, well, I've heard that there's great barbecue and I know Elvis lived there. And there's high crime. And all those things are true. There is higher crime in Memphis than I desire there to be. However, it is one of the commonalities that we have with other investing markets like St. Louis, Missouri, more recently a little bitty town, Little Rock, Arkansas, Huntsville, and more specifically Birmingham, Alabama, Indianapolis, Indiana, Kansas City, Missouri, and Jacksonville, Florida. Texas has got its own dynamics, but a lot of people have invested there. The rising tax rates just kind of squash it. But Memphis, all those areas have higher than average crime. Birmingham, much more so than Huntsville. But they're all workforce towns as well. What is a workforce town? It's the opposite of the tech boom that happened in California. We have a lot of warehouses that require a lot of truck drivers and workers on the railroad and workers within the warehouse. We have a ton of medical, which requires a lot more people working on the air conditioner, the security guard, cleaning the floors, taking care of the building, renters than it does doctors. So we are a workforce town, and what we do is provide safe, clean, and functional housing to the American workforce. If we just live by that motto, this all works. So our major employers are a big factor. Affordability. So most of you watching this video are living in an area where a $300,000 home does not or hardly exist. And if that $300,000 home were to be a rental, it would not rent for enough money to cover all the bills at the end of the month, which is the definition of negative cash flow. So our affordability, price-wise, you can buy a home in Memphis in a decent area for $130,000. It will rent for enough money that at the end of the month, after all the bills are paid, including your debt service, there's money left over, cash flow positive. Weather. Our weather in Memphis is very mild. We are high enough north of the southern coast that when a major hurricane hits Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, we have heavy rain in Tennessee. It dissipates by the time it gets here. There's not been a tornado in the city of Memphis the past 80 years since my mother has lived here. So we don't have a lot of tornado activity like they do west in Missouri and Arkansas. We don't have a lot of snow. So snow is an anomaly. However, the past 2 years we've gotten it 4 to 6 inches. But before that, it had been 10 years since we had a major snow. If you own properties up north, every year your portfolio is covered in snow. So just the milder weather without being so south that we have the coastal is a big reason that people invest in Memphis. So some of those major employers, we've talked about St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital based in Memphis, Tennessee. Amazing story there. I'd encourage anybody to Google and learn more about their history, but Alsac, the American Lebanese a group of Lebanese businessmen from Memphis, Tennessee, who were very successful, teamed up with Danny Thomas, a famous actor back in the day. And he was the face of St. Jude, but it was because one of their children had cancer, and there really wasn't a hospital dedicated to helping children with cancer. So those men got together, raised the money, got the hospital to Memphis, and it's a heartbeat of our town. It really is the most amazing place on earth. More recently, Ford Corporation has built and soon will be building their electric cars right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. That's a big push to get our major corporations from the north to the south. And the way that we attract them is lower taxes, lower real estate prices, utilities, cost of living for your employees. But the big one, very little, if any, union activity in the South. So the big companies, the iron producer or the metal producers like Nucor, steel producers, when those big factories in Detroit and Chicago have to be rebuilt, they don't rebuild them up there in the snow and the rougher areas. They come down south. They get big tax breaks and there's no unions. So that's the big secret there. And then lastly, of course, most of you watching this would know FedEx was founded in Memphis and is still a major employer here in town. So that's just 3 of our major employers, amongst many others. International Paper, world headquarters, Memphis, Tennessee. Hilton has a large presence. They aren't headquartered here, but 2,000 plus employees. Nike, not headquartered in Memphis, but every shoe, every piece of apparel that is sold in North America is shipped from Memphis, Tennessee. Pfizer, same thing, not based in Memphis. I think it's a foreign company if I'm not mistaken, but all the pills shipped out of Memphis to the world. A lot of that has to do with FedEx Medical. FedEx has a whole division, medical, taking one of the best exports America has right now is our pharmaceutical and bones, elbows, shoulders, all that kind of stuff, orthopedics, to the rest of the world who does not have the same advanced medical technology we have. So Thomas & Betts, AutoZone. AutoZone was started and is still headquartered in Memphis, Tennessee. Cargill, not headquartered in Memphis, but a huge employer down in the river, because a lot of people don't talk about the river as a big economic indicator for Memphis, but Cargill is based here for that reason. And on and on. I had to throw Turnkey Investing on there, major corporations.
Yeah. I like it.
So we use this map to highlight where those major employers are, and therefore cross-reference with the real estate you might be interested in buying. And then you'll know, have a good idea of where your residents may be employed. There's a good chance if you're buying in Fraser or Raleigh Springs area, they could work at Nike, or there's a huge Amazon fulfillment center up there now. If they work down south by Graceland, there's a good chance they work downtown Memphis for the government in some way. I see that a lot. FedEx, because it's only 15 minutes from Graceland to downtown Memphis. FedEx downtown is the FedEx Logistics, so their trucking company is based downtown Memphis. Interestingly, in the old Gibson guitar factory, really cool building. But St. Jude, big employer, the city of Memphis, FedEx downtown, or just east of Whitehaven, our airport. Half of our airport is a cargo airport just for FedEx. 170 planes on average come in daily, offload their goods, hopefully to an 18-wheeler and then onto another plane. And so Memphis is the largest hub in the Northern Hemisphere for FedEx. That is what makes us an aerotropolis. What is an aerotropolis? That's what I asked when I first saw this. And it is a city, there's very few that have major air cargo, interstate systems and logistic companies, the railroad, and shipping. So usually you have to be a coastal city to qualify as an aerotropolis. Let's talk about the interstate system. So from north to south, on I-55 from Chicago to New Orleans, we have one of the major interstate systems coming right through the city of Memphis. From east to west, I-40 from the East Coast all the way out to California, major trucking traffic there. A lot of y'all watching the news right now would see the big floods in North Carolina, and it wiped out part of I-40. That could be as damaging to our economy as anything. But having that come right through Memphis, lots of trucks. This is the mega site that was built speculatory by the state of Tennessee at the cost of $12.3 billion. I forget the cost, but the projected income in new salaries is $12.3 billion, and this is now the new home of Ford Motor Corporation electric car factory. So it was built speculatory by the state of Tennessee, hoping to bring in $12.3 billion in salaries, and just hit the gold strike by getting the best client they could to come in with Ford. Interstate 69. Now what is that? That's a NAFTA superhighway, started back in the Clinton administration and still not complete, but comes right through Memphis. There's 4 pieces that do connect from Memphis, headed all the way down to Mexico, all the way up past Detroit into Canada. And what it did is it formed an outer loop around the city of Memphis to relieve some of the truck traffic coming through, but brought more trucks and more ability to ship out of Memphis via 18-wheeler instead of air cargo, which really improved our aerotropolis rating. And then we have the rail system. So Memphis is one of only 5 cities that has all 7 Class 1 railroads. What does that mean? Well, there's 7 rail lines that come through America, and we have all 7 coming through Memphis. And the reason is actually kind of cool. It dates back to the Civil War, when Sherman was coming through burning southern cities like Atlanta and Charlotte, Nashville. He ripped up the railroad tracks. And it took a long time to rebuild those railroad tracks. And sometimes they built houses where the railroad tracks used to be, so you can't come back and put the railroad in. Memphis was never burned. Memphis was never demolished. It was more occupied in the Civil War. So the remnants of having a fully functional rail system in Memphis, not destroyed in the Civil War, is one of the key factors there. So now we've got FedEx and other air cargo, major hub, interstate system, trucking companies all over Memphis, Tennessee. There's a trucking company on every corner here, and all the 5 of the 7 Class 1 railroads coming right through Memphis. And then finally, well, before we go there, I have to say that last slide is the BNSF intermodal unit that was built in Memphis about 15 years ago by this guy, Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett quoted here as saying, clearly, Memphis is part of our system, and certainly it is the center point for any activity and support market in the Southeast. He said, it is a major part of our business, and we expect to continue to grow Memphis. Memphis is ideally located. So just our location gave us the biggest upper hand in...
If I had a way of buying a couple 100,000 single-family homes and had a way of managing, the management is enormous. It's really a problem because they're one by one. They're not like apartment houses. So, but I would load up on them, and I would take mortgages out at very, very low rates. But if anybody is thinking about buying homes, 5 years ago they couldn't buy them fast enough because they thought they were going to go up, and now they don't buy them because they think they're going to go down, and interest rates are far lower. It's a way, in effect, to short the dollar because you can take a 30-year mortgage. And if it turns out your interest rate's too high next week, you refinance lower. And if it turns out it's too low, the other guy's stuck with it for 30 years. So it's a very attractive asset class now.
If you are a young individual investor at home and you have your choice between buying your first home or investing in stocks, where would you tell someone is the better bet?
If I thought I was going to live, if I knew where I was going to want to live the next 5 or 10 years, I would buy a home and I'd finance it with a 30-year mortgage. And it's a terrific deal. And if I was an investor that was a handy type, which I'm not, and I could buy a couple of them at distressed prices and find renters, I think that's, and again, take a 30-year mortgage. It's a leveraged way of owning a very cheap asset now.
Wow. I had to put that in there because we were talking about Warren Buffett and his railroad, but then that video where Warren Buffett's telling people to go out and buy single-family homes with 30-year fixed mortgages as an investment over other options. The hardest part, he says, is the management. And that's why having a team like ours that covers everything is so key. Having someone whose interests are aligned with yours, who want you to succeed and don't look at you with dollar signs, that's what Warren Buffett was saying. You know, if you can manage it, it's the best asset there is. All right, so lastly, for making Memphis an aerotropolis, we've talked about the air cargo, the interstate system, and all the 18-wheeler trucks. We've talked about the rail lines that Mr. Buffett's highly invested in, including here in Memphis. And then lastly, we have the river. No one thinks of the Mississippi River as a shipping asset, but Memphis has Prince George Foreign Trade Zone down by the river. So this is all for international trade. We are the second largest inland port in the United States. I don't know who the first is, but that's what the stats said. So we're an inland port, meaning barges full of cars and grain and steel come up that river, petroleum that is turned into gasoline and jet fuel for the FedEx planes, right there on our doorstep at the river. So a huge employer. A lot of people that work for the river or in a warehouse here at Nike rent. So that's where we're getting to, right? All right, so I'm going to stop there